Tonight on Dateline, a podcaster who's never had sex. Could Zach Chessman be a complete loser? We launched our investigative team to find out, and what we found will shock you. But first, we're going to interview friend of the show and sex haver, Belvin Olasov. Belvin,
hey,
tell me a little bit about Zach Chessman.
Well, you know what? You're actually working with incomplete information. Zach and I consummated last night.
That's great. That's great to hear. And that ends this investigation. Derails the joke. Next week on Dateline, Belvin Olasov. He seemed like the perfect Dateline interviewee. But what happened during the interview? He derailed whatever it was I was trying to do.
When's my interview? Hey.
I'm bringing in friend of the show, Zach Chessman, to talk a little bit about Belvin's unreliability.
Oh, hey, yeah. That wasn't true.
Oh, it wasn't true?
I mean, no.
So he's a liar. Well, that's good to hear.
I'm waiting until marriage.
And are you married currently to Belvin Olasov? He's not on the show. He can't say anything. It's just me and Zach.
Ring, ring.
You see a ring on this finger?
Ring, ring.
We're getting a call in Dateline Studios, and I'm going to pick up the phone.
Hey, it's Belvin Olasov here. I just wanted to set something straight.
That from context clues.
I'm hiding underneath your desk. I'm listening in. I just got to say, I just wanted to seem cool when I said that I consummated my relationship with Zach last night.
A simple man with an innocent motivation, unfairly railroaded by a hack news program. Dateline investigates Dateline tonight at 11.
Man, Dateline became Maury really quickly. Fuck.
Yeah, Dateline got pretty meta toward the end there.
Yeah.
I like how you brought in like true facts into the show. I like in the beginning. I thought that was really cool. How you brought the true facts into the bit of how I've never had sex.
Everything in that bit was 100% real.
Yeah,
it was a bit of truth.
No, this is actually not Dateline though. We just hired a bunch of guests who were on Dateline.
Those are all actors playing the parts of the host of the show, which have similar names, actually.
It costs us a lot of money.
Tonight, on a very special episode of 30-Minute Worlds, the dangers of lying to television hosts and why it might wind you in prison. This is scared straight.
They say whatever they want on Maury. No one really, it doesn't affect anybody, really.
Wild, Wild West on that show, though.
Yeah, much like our show. They're just making shit up. Which is what we do on this show.
This is 30-Minute Worlds, a podcast where myself, Walter Kunkel, and my friends Belvin Olasov, Zach Chessman, and Daniel Kennedy all make up a fantasy world in 30 minutes or more, usually more. I am the lore lad for this episode, which means that these three esteemed gentlemen and Dateline guests will throw prompt words at me, and I will have creative control over the world that we collectively decide to build together.
Yeah, and we're real sorry. We were going to get Steve Harvey as the guest on this one, but he found out about Walt's Twitter account, and, well, that's not happening anymore, let me tell you. Well, the listeners can go and they can look at your tweets, and they'll find out for themselves.
What did I tweet about Steve Harvey?
When you said celebrated game show host, I thought you were going to say Bill Cosby.
No, look at him. We got this. We can't let them know about this special episode that we have planned. No, it's a surprise.
The Steve Harvey, man. The Steve Cosby, Bill Harvey spectacular. Live from Rikers Prison.
They've changed their last names, and Steve Harvey's in jail. It's what was required to make that bit work that you just outlined.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, what prompts do we have here?
The word tonight is embargo.
The word embargo from Daniel Kennedy here. All right. Mm-hmm. All right. Interesting choice.
Justin, what you got?
Yeah, cheese.
I'm going to go for icon.
Icon.
In my word.
Could it resemble one of the icons on the home screen of your computer?
My word is Cowboy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeehaw!
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Melvin, you're always throwing down the genre defining. Embargo, icon, cowboy. When I think icon, I think like religious icons like you would have in Greek Orthodoxy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they were highly valued. Maybe it would make sense to forbid trade of them through an embargo because of their spiritual significance, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe the embargo starts, like maybe there's a trade war over like some inter-country dispute over icons. That'd be interesting.
Okay, yeah. I mean, so like if... Oh, go on, Dan.
Well, that's not too different from what really happened, like with iconoclasm. People would break into churches and like smash them up to like because the icons were like sinful or whatever, and they wanted to remove them from the church and like its place in religion. But then they would sort of just steal the icons and like melt down the gold and take the jewels out, which sort of vibes with this cowboy aesthetic, I think.
So like, is Greek Orthodox cowboys a niche that we can fill aesthetically? Taking aside the prompt words here and just looking big strokes, could you have a Greek Orthodoxy cowboy
I
setting?
don't know. Hear me out here. Cowboy Pope.
Like Catholic
cowboy
cowboys?
Pope.
Or specifically the Pope?
Not like the Pope. Just like imagine
the big Pope hat, but it also has a big brim on it, and he's like rolling
Pope
his
equivalent. But he's
Pope Dimmadome.
like the sheriff of the Vatican.
He's like, howdy, y'all. Dominus Patria
I'm
Domine.
technically infallible, but don't let it get to you, son. Only in doctrine. No, I like that. So there's a grand religious figure who's the sheriff.
Yes.
And he oversees, I guess there'd be icons of him and of other minor saints, but saints in this setting would be called, not saints, but like, what's a cowboy version of a saint? Fucking, there's a word I'm thinking of.
Deputies is a
Deputies,
little on
maybe.
the nose. Bishops.
There's this myth is like Riders in the Sky or something. I don't know if there's a more succinct name.
As ever, names are the death of the podcast.
Yes, we'll find a cool name and think of it later. Wranglers, maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
Wranglers.
Shut up.
that is what cowboys do, I guess.
It's just so funny to go from saints to like wranglers.
They're wrangling the souls of the damned and taking them to
why aren't
heaven.
more Jeeps named after saints, huh? Because they're important in our world too. More so even than cowboys. That's just a digression.
And if you listeners can guess what Walt's religious background is, you'll win a $50 gift card to his apartment. To stay at his apartment and he'll make you dinner.
Who was mentioning Ghost Riders? Because I think we were talking.
I was.
Yeah, Chessman, go ahead.
Oh, I just got a word drovers.
I kind of like that.
It's people who drive cattle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's never just the one cowboy, right? It's a group of drovers.
It makes sense.
Like
It makes
drovers,
sense.
shepherds, very biblically.
Yeah.
Shepherds. So there's religious. We're all God's cattle, and it's their job. After they die, they were so good at what they did that they shepherd souls to the afterlife.
Ooh, what if religious people get branded?
Oh yeah,
on their hindquarters.
It'd be cool if like there were bad spirit cows, right? That fucking they had to get wrangled into hell, right? So they not only bring people to heaven, but also to wherever the bad places in mythology. There's what's the psychopomps, the spirit guides?
Well, there's I think if we were going to go for like a good place, bad place dichotomy, there would be I don't know what the good place would be. The bad place would probably be a desert because there's nothing to eat there.
Right.
Cattle can't find succor in the desert.
The salt lands, yeah.
And that's biblical.
The wastelands.
The flats is a good name for hell.
So maybe the drovers, they just they drive the evil cattle to the desert, but the the good place is on the other side, on another side of the desert.
The cattle being, obviously, for the listener, a metaphor for our souls when we pass on.
What if they're minotaur in this world?
Minotaur.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Oh.
Like, not just like metaphorical bad cattle, but like actual bad cattle people, where the story goes
And
back.
that makes the cowboys more like bounty hunters, too. Not just people doing a menial job, but their job's actually really important. They wrangle together. Are they minotaurs as well?
No, I mean, in my mind, there's a dichotomy.
Okay. Hang on. Why?
I feel like Minotaurs specifically... I don't know if Minotaurs specifically are evil, but I do feel like it's hard to ride a horse if you have bull legs.
That's kind of easily fixable. You could just say giant Paul Bunyan-ass steeds.
I think the
right?
Minotaur are godless. I think the Minotaurs are heathens.
Okay.
It could be, what if the icons are like, they're used as like part of a religious purification ritual, and like if you become too corrupted, you could become a minotaur, like either in body or in spirit.
Maybe. Okay, I like that. So a spirit kind of merges with your body and you take on inhuman aspects. So the minotaurs are creatures that exist in this setting. They're half bull, half man, and they exist kind of when a person has enough bad aspects that a spirit tries to make their home inside them, transforming their physical appearance.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. I mean, because that description is basically minotaurs as demon-touched people. Pretty metal. Pretty berserk.
Let's talk about religious iconography and icons, because that's part of the setting as well.
Horseshoe?
I think it'd be cool if it were, I mean, really gothic cowboys is a really unique visual niche.
You could like modify pretty easily like the black robes that Orthodox priests wear to be like rawhide, like leather, and they're like more like bisected into two different clothing pieces.
I like that. And their hat also is kind of a, you know, the Jesuit hat?
Yeah, the wide brim.
Kind of like a cowboy hat. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the wide brim Jesuit hat, so the priests like wear those and shit.
It's a cool aesthetic.
Do they have guns?
You cannot have, I would argue that you cannot have a good cowboy setting without 6-shooters.
Okay,
what if
guns,
the guns
are also religious relics if they belonged to a saint.
Well, what if the guns are water guns? With holy water.
I think it might tonally be a little...
I think we're hitting on some good stuff, and I'm going to veto water guns because it ruins
holy water guns.
I agree with Zach. To have a cowboy story, they need to have guns or crossbows or just like something.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
we're not going to have the Varangian
guns.
Guard just sitting there with like their fucking water gun muskets defending the Pope from like a bunch of minotaurs.
They have guns.
Yes.
They have the Swiss Guard fucking puffy sleeves. They have the black cloaks and Jesuit hats. And they have like long rifles and shit, but they're all ornate religious relics. Guns are like...
What if instead of being like a whole order, there were only like 7 or 8 of these at a time, saints, and then when they retire, they pass on their like religious weaponry to like a successor? So they each have one kind of gun.
I like there being more than 7 or 8 because it gives you the possibility to adventure as them, right?
I like guns as relics, though. I like the idea of a limited number of guns. You can't make new ones. That's interesting.
Or like there are a limited number of holy guns. Like people can smith guns that are just regular 6-shooters, but holy weapons are in control of the church, and they have the power to defeat like minotaurs and shit. That normal guns can't deal with.
Sure. Can we talk about the embargo real quick? Because I think so. If this is like
the embargo,
yeah.
If this is Wild West meets the diocese, then who? From what country were they settlers? Right. I think that's who's doing the embargo. Is like the
Cowboys implies it doesn't mean West entirely, but it does imply a vast area of land, like a field or a place to cowboy in.
They could be a group of religious refugees that like had to go across the sea. Instead of being a mission to like go and convert like a new world, they fled the old one.
Oh.
Like, what if all the Catholics got forced out of Europe and forced
like,
to move to North America?
What if a much less ornate and more sensible religion, just hypothetically, took foothold and pushed a bunch of people out of Europe?
No, it's interesting because what happened with America is that the Protestants went over, right? But what if, like, the whole Catholic Church tries to transplant itself to America? Like, that kind of vibe.
I do like that kind of vibe. You know, what's funny is the reason that one of the biggest reasons Protestants and Catholics clashed was over icons. So for the listener, Protestants believed that Catholics worshipped like statues themselves instead of God, and they had too many symbols. And so this weird like ornate iconography that was popular in Orthodox and Catholic churches doesn't really translate over to Protestant churches as well.
Well, and to be fair, the line between iconography and idolatry is kind of a thin one.
Yeah, especially, you know, when you're going by the literal text of the Bible, as Protestants were at the time. But yeah.
This is a religious studies podcast.
Well, we could have the country embargoing have like a strong, like, austere philosophy. They don't like icons.
Well, like real Calvinists.
Yeah, there's kind of a Calvinist power. That doesn't truck with all this spirit cattle nonsense.
Oh, and they're like stuffy. They're the stuffed shirts.
Yeah. Yes. And they've embargoed. So there's this kind of new land that our Popat cowboys are in, and they're kind of trying to bring all these relics over from the old world to this new land to the west. There's a huge embargo on these guns and saintly relics that are used. It'd be cool if you had a bullet that had like a saint's tooth in it, and it's super like fucking. You have to find it after the battle because it's super. Impactful and
that's
rare.
really cool.
You keep it in a glass devotional case, like around your neck.
Right, that's why there's an embargo, is because every one of these holy weapons, the source of its holiness comes from having a piece of a saint in them.
Oh yeah,
that's
why
there's only so many. Yeah.
Like my 6-shooter's made out of like the fucking arm bone of like. Listen, I don't know the bones, but some listeners just like
it's like how like Charlemagne's sword is supposed to have a piece of the true cross in the hilt, which is not true, but cool.
Yeah, find me a piece of the true cross that really exists.
I have one right here actually, and it's $5.
Talking about equipment, I think you probably have a lot of folks who take minotaur horns and integrate them into their leather robe jacket things.
Well, the outlaws might do that.
Oh,
yeah.
So where there's cowboys, they're outlaws, right? And people who don't like the order that this, let's be frank, like very hierarchical church is imposing on the formerly free West.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be interesting if there are a lot of devotees of the dark bull, or whatever you want to call the bull.
The cloven god.
Yeah, the cloven god. And it's like they become eventually full-on minotaurs. And there's also like
they're potential
the whole
hosts. They live lawlessly. They show no discipline in their lives, which obviously the church like disapproves of.
I think it could be cool if instead of it just being a generic sort of like evil want to steal souls, we could lean into like more of a bacchanalia kind of thing. Like,
yeah, that's kind of what I thought it would be.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Pan.
Yeah.
They have no structure. That's why they're animalistic.
You know, they lure people away from society as you're supposed to be living in it.
It's sort of like a Jedi versus the Sith sort of thing. Like the church preaches a very like restrictive sort of control over your actions and emotions, and the Minotaur cowboys,
the outlaws,
outlaws are just like embracing degeneracy, but also finer emotions as well. Like
right.
They're free to love and all that kind of shit.
One thing I think would be sort of a natural addition to this, I think that there would be a huge trade in fake relics and icons. Like
all the fucking in real life, it existed.
The Saints.
Belvin, you were going to say something.
Oh, I just don't want to go all the way to like full Jedi repress your emotions, very orderly thing with the with the Wranglers, and because they're still like cowboys to a certain extent. I think
but they're literally reining in the wilder aspects of nature.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There's certainly law and order.
There's like immense symbolism there to them being kind of like these John Wayne type stoic kind of guys.
Yeah, maybe they're just extremely John Wayne-y. I like that.
I mean, like, white hat is like the kinema term.
Right.
I think the doctrine of the church surrounding these Wranglers versus the reality is also a little bit different, because the doctrine of the church basically is that they're saints. They can do no wrong, and they are out there basically taming the evilness of humans and the evilness of nature or whatever. But the reality is that they are just, they're just doing their job, essentially, like sort of like those who hunt monsters must be wary not to turn into monsters themselves.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think it's better if a lot of them are kind of morally gray and munch on cigars and have Raylan Givens vibes.
Yeah, I think it probably would be a sort of thing that once you're imbued with that authority by the church, as long as you don't make a fuss and like get things done, we're not going to actually like police you that hard.
There could be Wrangler orders condemned by the church, kind of like the Templars were, for straying in their ways and becoming heretical. There could be conflict between Wranglers and the church. I mean, they're not a monolith, Belvin, you're right. There would be some that recognize you have to act more practically to survive, and they could be on tense terms with a more hierarchical church structure that inhibits them from getting shit done.
One of these orders, they could have attempted to try and like start making new, like they've started raiding the graves basically of recently passed on saints, trying to steal body parts basically to make new weapons. Like they're trying to buck the order of things.
Yeah. And that's because of the embargo, because normally they have all their saintly weapons, but they're back in the old land.
Mm-hmm. So, how are you going to continue the hunt without weapons?
I like that a lot.
Can we spend a little time just fleshing out the flavor of the the setting? I'm just wondering if their cathedral equivalent has a lot of saloon stuff in it.
Yeah,
there could be like one main like city
saloons that serve wine.
Saloons for wine.
Give me your hardest wine.
Every cowboy has like a sainted chalice with him that he can
swig.
That would be really funny if like you literally have a hip flask full of wine and you break out like your gold chalice to do communion at the end of the day.
Yeah, like miracles are happening, like transubstantiation's happening all the time, where like if you dip your chalice in like a river water, like it turns into like sainted wine for you to drink like while you're on the trail.
Oh yeah, it could have like restorative properties.
Well, now Walter, that's interesting. Mundane miracles falling around the Wranglers. I love that.
I like that too. I think it really sets the tone of the setting as being kind of a miraculous one. Especially because we've established minotaurs exist, and they're kind of a miracle in a perverse way. And
it's kind of lopsided. Right. It is a little bit like, I don't want to keep making comparisons to Star Wars because I don't like it. I don't like Star Wars anymore.
You and me both, brother.
If you look at Star Wars and you're not a Jedi in that setting, it's not actually a great place to be, depending on the time period. If you're one of the like 7 or 8 blessed pre-Wranglers, I guess, that have these saintly guns, miracles follow you, essentially. Yeah. Everyone else, they definitely
you have to go to church to get your miracles, basically, right. Which a lot of them are necessary to survive.
Well, it's like the Wild West in that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but that's interesting, Walter. Like the people, so we could expand it so the Wranglers have miracles follow them, but they're also just your holy sheriffs at all these little podunk frontier towns.
Yeah, I think there are more than 8 Wranglers also, because you only really get a sainted status after you've martyred yourself.
Yeah, I think we were talking about orders. I think every order has basically one saintly weapon that they bequeath.
I think that's badass.
On like essentially the leader of their order.
Yeah. The bullwhip, the long rifle.
Yes. Bullwhip, the holy bullwhip that they use for hunting vampire minotaurs.
We're keeping Van Helsing out of this setting.
And Belvin, I think you're right that this setting does suck to live in. Just like if you were a yeoman in like Western Europe, it would suck if you weren't a knight or a church official. Yeah. That is kind of when you port the old time iconography over to the setting. I think too, you can port over like the misery that comes with that.
All right.
It's a really dangerous country to live in, and people die all the time. And there's not enough miracles to save everybody.
Right. I mean, you get raided by lost minotaurs. Lost minotaurs being minotaurs who are just like super far gone, a little feral. Farmland is scarce if you don't get enough miracles.
Should we talk a little bit about what it is, a little bit more about what it's like to live in this setting, like where you probably would be, or like what the, like we could talk about terrain or something like that?
Yeah, you'd have to be, you could be like just an adventurer, of which you'd primarily go out to adventure to find gold, like pan for it, find new unsettled land, start a township. You could do stuff like that.
Well, but I imagine most people would just be farmers.
Yeah, most people would farm.
Yeah. Well, if this is like it's not a new world per se, but it's like a newly settled region, it could be one that instead of it being on the coast of like an ocean, it could be like down a river from where these like Protestant, like this austere religious community originated. And that's the one like city in the region. Is like a terminus basically that is by the river and is where like anyone new comes in. There's a choke point
on artifacts coming in because the upper river is controlled by a rival church. So that makes sense.
So people smuggle goods like either down the river or they like have to make night raids into the north to go and get it. Or whatever. I don't know. I just assume north, south,
out east.
It's fucking Mississippi has done this to me. Yeah.
I like that.
Yonder.
If you're not a farmer, you could also be. I mean, there'd be tremendous need for tradesmen, wheelwrights, candle makers for religious services, any kind of like velvet maker or like clothing maker. You would. Yeah. Like there would be tremendous need for goldsmithing as well, because gold would be used in a lot of these ostentatious rituals.
Okay, that like they've irrigated a whole portion of this new region just to support growing wine, like growing grapes for wine.
Like wine would be a tremendous thing that's used in a lot of ritual that you would need.
Mm-hmm. Walter, you talked about the common folk just getting their like mundane miracles from the church, which is, I guess, kind of also the corner store of the setting. Maybe you need like certain cantrips to make these mundane miracles work. So some farming is just for like essentially cantrips.
I like that a lot. Where you like you need to buy like instead of a packet of seeds, you go to the general store and buy a litany or something that's written out to ensure like a harvest,
like a prayer card, basically.
Yeah. Mm.
That would be cool. You could collect, instead of a box of matches, it's like literally a box of prayer cards that can like light a flame instead of having a flint and iron.
Oh, yeah.
There should be magic you can buy, like prayers you can buy, but they're expensive because they do the work of a man's hands really quickly and really effectively. So not everyone buys them. A lot of people are just down on their luck farmers who don't get miracles. And selling miracles on paper is the way that the monastic orders like make money too, so they kind of like that's where they come from, and that's who buys them is richer types of people who want convenience. If you want to clean your water and not have to worry about what you're drinking, there's a miracle for that, but not everyone has access to it.
And that sort of leans into the Templar angle as well, because their whole thing was like banking basically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. I just like the idea of like really shit miracles, like what Dan described, where you just like make a little spark.
I think that's something that the orders would still, and rich people would use them to like light candles, like literally just waste them. Then there's probably mountains, right, to hide these bandit
There'd be
groups.
Mountain ranges and shit out there. It's kind of the end of this river, so there's a big lake. And then it's a big valley, a big western valley with high Rocky Mountain-esque places, and then beyond that, kind of like mesa-like plateaus. And that's like the true wilds, you know?
A lot of minotaurs have set up shop
where
there.
the bulls run free.
Yeah. You're already talking about a big river, obviously. There's the Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which that'll be a great place to film when this gets converted to made-for-TV movies.
Oh.
It's going to be a whole series.
Well, what if there is a robust community of riverboats, and on those riverboats are the only people that aren't like either super religious or pantheists, hedonists. They're just trying to live.
I like that. And they're like lake people, too, who live out on the lake. It'd be cool also if the naming conventions were kind of like American Old West. You have like the big river diocese, or like all these like...
Yes. The Great Lakes Diocese.
Yeah, the Great Lakes Diocese or shit like that.
The Flatlander Fellowships, shit like that.
Mm-hmm. The Sherman's March Diocese.
March Diocese. I do like...
a little early.
I'm interested in your religion.
Tell me more.
Yeah, one thing I think when people, or like in the past when they were Wild West XPs, they were not like doing it on XP so much as the weird mashup. Like Native Americans would be substituted for some sort of monstrous race just to keep the tropes. But that in itself is pretty problematic. So let me just take the opportunity to say the Minotaurs are not in any way taking the place of Native Americans and saying there are no Native Americans.
Let's even say that they arrived after, and they're just guys. All right.
Well, no,
I mean they're not indigenous to the area.
I think when they moved into the area, when they had this mythology of the cloven god, like in a way that sort of led to the Minotaur phenomenon.
Well, maybe they were exiled heretics who took up residence there, and then we followed. So we're reclaiming. There's a holy war against heresy. From the point of view of the church.
Oh, the Holy Hunt?
The Holy Hoedown.
Oh, close.
Oh, God. I do like the idea of these, God, what is it? Like animal spirit beliefs and stuff that I actually don't know all that much about. So I don't know if I don't want to lean into it.
In Warcraft,
as I'm saying it,
the Tauren, the Minotaur race, are coded pretty heavily.
Yeah, that's
Native
true,
American
actually.
types.
I didn't even think about that, but yeah, it's good that we nipped that.
Oh, yeah.
What's cool, too, is you might think, hey, like, old school European, like, weird Catholicism and the Old West, like, they're completely different environments, but actually both environments required, like, an absurd amount of faith on the part of, like, every participant in order to work. Like, you went to the Old West because you had faith in an idea. And faith that led you there. And it was
magic gun.
kind of a religious pilgrimage. Embodying manifest destiny as opposed to like hard religiosity. But anyway, just a private take there from old Walt.
This has been Walt's thoughts.
This has been a great return to form for us, by the way, on the ep. I really like this one. If there was any doubt.
Yeah, this one hums.
Yeah, it's
You
this
won't
one
like in Cowboys? No.
Catholic imagery.
I wasn't even going to say
Cowboys,
anything about that. I wouldn't want to ruin the contest for our fans.
Hell yeah.
I think Walt's going to make them a nice bolognese.
Any closing thoughts on this setting? Anywhere you would want to take it if we were to visit it again?
I don't know about that, but holy songs or folk songs.
Oh, yeah. Fucking devotional songs. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's cool. Just a bunch of, like, fucking people marching in procession on horseback to the next town, singing, like, songs to protect them.
You need the guitar. You need the guitar in the Old West. Well, it's funny because I think the guitar is a Spanish instrument.
It's an Iberian. Yeah. So that's an easy port over.
Yeah,
I think it's West African, but
it's not
sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
West African, Morocco. There's some weird link. But what I was gonna say is, what if there was like some sort of confidence man that was, let's say he was doing some sort of magic trick and he opened up a portal to a demon dimension. What if that happened? That'd be pretty cool.
Well, now we've ruined it. That's our show.
Direct crossover.
If you like this episode, you can subscribe to us on your podcasting service of choice to get new episodes every Saturday. If you wish, go ahead and write us a review on iTunes. Share us with anyone who likes world building. It really helps us out. Our art is courtesy of the talented and wonderful Shell Tor at Jovial Paradox on Twitter. You can tweet at us too at LoreLads, or send us spirited hate mail at 30minuteworlds@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and as always, happy world building.